So in terms of U.S.-Chinese relations, one of the key issues is going to be supply chains. We all have been watching Andrew Cuomo talking about how he can't get the reagents that make the testing kits work, and he can't get the equipment, the PPEs, all these things are becoming accepted as part of the language. Can't get the respirators, can't get this and that. It all comes from China. So, so do you think that the American companies are going to engage in any significant readjustment of their supply chains, or is that going to be too difficult?
I think they will, and I think they already are. And you know, you have to remember that even before COVID-19 came along, we had 2 years of the trade war, and that was a wake-up call for a lot of big American brands, but also other companies from other countries around the world as well. And the fact that their products that produced in China were suddenly being hit with tariffs made the business model much more complicated. And frankly, even before that, we've seen a transition of lower end of companies and factories producing lower end goods moving out of China simply because of wages. And wages now, manufacturing wages in China are higher than in Malaysia, they're higher than in Mexico. So I think we're going to continue to see this happen. I think on the PPE stuff, we're definitely going to see it happen. I think it was a mistake to have so much of it, whatever, and antibiotics as well, to have it all in China. So I do expect that to continue to happen. You know, the other thing is when I first showed up in China long ago, and particularly after China entered the World Trade Organization in 2001, it really was focused as an export platform for most big brands. And that gradually shifted because obviously the other reason to be in China is because of the very potentially and already very large market there. So we're going to continue to have companies, whether it's Intel or Apple or GM, that are in China, not just to manufacture, but also because they're selling, you know, a significant part of their market is right there in China already. And certainly, you know, GM, their largest market. I think Apple, it's been their fastest growing market. Intel, it's extremely important, just those three companies again. So they're not going to, I mean, they may reduce, just one more thing I would say is, you know, there's, even before COVID-19, we've seen Apple telling its suppliers, Foxconn most notably, but others like Wistron and Pegatron, these big Taiwanese companies, that they actually need to diversify. And we've seen them actually going to places like India and Indonesia and other places. So it's going to continue to happen for everybody, but some companies they can't leave forever.
Apple is spectacularly dependent on China for manufacturing of about almost 100% of their iPhones, I believe. So do you believe that they're going to be able to make significant progress in easing their dependence on China as a manufacturing platform?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's easy, but yeah, no, I think it's already happening. I mean, as I said, I mean, this is in my book, so that takes us back a little while, at least a year. So when I sent it to the publishers, but companies, as I said, top Apple suppliers have already been instructed by Apple to look elsewhere. And in some cases, they've successfully set up manufacturing operations in Southeast Asia and India in particular.
What do you think about this argument from Peter Navarro and others that there should be a decoupling of the two economies?
Well, I think it's absurd, and I mean, I think the issue there is, you know, the train has left the station. Big multinationals, the ones I just mentioned, and a bunch of other ones, they're not going to leave China. If they leave China, they're turning their back on their biggest and most important markets. And to ask them to do so means basically to make them much less effective, much less powerful companies globally as well. So I don't think that's going to happen. I do think that a reckoning has come, and more closely looking at our supply chains, and yes, diversifying them outside of China was overdue, actually. And I think companies, you know, I won't name names, but I think they're going to continue to do this. But the idea that, you know, Navarro's idea that we can fully decouple is from an economic perspective, not to mention political, is ridiculous.
Complete lunacy, I agree. It would take 20 or 30 years to do it. We've built these relationships up over 30 years, and so it would take a long time to undo them.